Well, hospital porters, pride and dignity, stop the New World Order. Welcome to Panwo TV. And welcome to this. Is it the 5th or the 6th or 7th in my series on UFO Disclosure 2015. It is now the 4th of February 2015. We're into the second month of this year. The year, which might be the year of disclosure. Please see links in the description box for background information, including previous films in this series, where I go into a bit more detail. If you haven't already done that, or you haven't seen those videos yet. So I did distinctly say, because I began this sort of around about November last year, that the first 2 months were crucial because, for the reasons I talk about in those videos, to do with these, the Congressional Hearing Initiative, things like that. So will this be not only be the year of disclosure, will February 2015 be the month of disclosure? I don't know. Anyway, there's been a few updates, so I thought I'd keep you posted with those, like I promised to. And one of those is to do with me personally. Apparently, I don't know because I don't read it, but apparently I'm in 40 Times this month. Someone who does read FT told me, "Oh Ben, apparently you've been featured in 40 Times. Someone's put you in one of their articles." So I guess if you do read FT, please do go out and have a look at that and should find it. I'm gonna go. I suppose I have to go and get my own copy now. I haven't read it for years. It's a pile of sort of like the 40 world is sort of like just above the skeptic world. It's sort of like it's this demi-monde between the skeptic and the believer. So I'm not all that keen on FT. It's gone more. It's more to the skeptic side of the demi-monde than the believer side. So it's moved from one side to the other. It used to be more on the believer side. I use believer in the sort of non-pejorative sense. Apparently I'm in it, but they've done what several people have done. They've not called me Ben Emlyn Jones. They called me Ben Emlyn Hughes. That was a great goal, Jimmy. A great goal. Anyway, a lot has happened since the last videos. Now, I'll go back to something that did happen last year, because it is an important part of this that I didn't mention. Boy Bushman died. Now, this tied in with, very coincidentally, with a publication that was made by the BBC. Is this camera working? I presume if you can hear me and see me, and presumably it is. Oh yes, it is. Good. Like I say, sometimes the mainstream media carries out an aggressive attack, and we all know about that, a preemptive strike. And other times their actions are retaliatory, damage control operations. I talked previously about the Santilli film, what I thought about that, but a recent case appeared a little to do with Boy Bushman, okay? Just before Boy Bushman died, now I'll explain who he is in a minute, but he uploaded a video was uploaded to YouTube featuring an interview with him. And amazingly, it was a type of deathbed confession. And within a few days, it received over 1 million views. Now, Boy Bushman, he was born in 1936, and he was a senior research engineer at Lockheed Martin, which is one of the biggest companies in this furtive, slippery world of defence contractors, and they operate Area 51. Now, in the interview, Bushman talks about UFOs, and he says, talks about a friend of his who took UFO photos. Now, Boy Bushman worked in the Black Project. He worked. He said he carried out. He worked for Black Projects, those without an official budget, top secret work. Remember, Ben Rich worked for the same company, and he said that they could take ET home. They could reach the stars. George Lucas would weep if they could see what those guys have got at Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. And Bushman started talking about various UFOs and about the aliens at Area 51. It's really quite remarkable. And he talked about these aliens he saw during his work. He said he had physical contact with the aliens. They themselves took photographs of other planets. It was really quite remarkable. And American scientists are working on UFO and alien research every day at secret military establishments like Area 51, improving programs to develop free energy and anti-gravity, which I've talked about before. I've got a big long video just coming up very soon, within a couple of days, it's almost ready, about that very subject. And apparently the US military works closely with these extraterrestrials. Now, I know about Boyd Bushman because Andrew Johnson has talked about him. He was featured on Nick Cook's documentary, The $1 Billion Secret, which is well worth seeing. Please do watch it on YouTube if you get the chance. And this guy, Nick Cook, said that Bushman talks in riddles. And he does. And I didn't expect to even hear anything much about this guy again, but then, it's just a couple of days ago, it was a couple of days before I wrote about it on the Hanway Voice blog, but I found it on it was in the Metro, this newspaper you see on buses and things like that, and trains, which has a readership of 3.5 million. And Bushman's final confession, his deathbed statement, was on their front page. It's unbelievable. And I wonder if, let me just get to pull up this page. I should have done this before, sorry. It's a coincidence that another article appeared a couple of days later, featuring, again, that smiling simian of the small screen, Professor Brian Cox. Oh, yes. And this was interesting because this was just a couple of days after that thing in the Metro about Bushman, which led to that video, and it was Professor Brian Cox saying, "We are alone in the universe. Alien life is all but impossible, and humanity is unique." Yeah, oh, it goes on. Oh, it's sickening. Oh, it just goes on. He said, "We're in an evolutionary bottleneck. I know the universe is mind-bogglingly huge, but there's only one advanced technological civilization possible, and it's us. There are billions of planets out there. Can't there have been a second Genesis? But we must be careful because the story of life on this planet shows that the transition from single-cell life to complex life may not have been inevitable." So it goes on like this anyway, you can look it up. But Cox is basically discrediting the idea of extraterrestrial life. I don't want to read any more of that because it'll make me feel pukey. He says how unlikely it is as intelligent life out in space. Earth is extremely lucky to have all the right combinations of organic chemistry, the right astronomical alignment to be in the Goldilocks zone, where water is liquid within a few, a few dozens of degrees between where it's liquid and between where it's solid, between where it's a gas, vapor, and when it's solid, ice. And he said things like astronomical alignment, yeah. Interesting. I mean, when it comes to Professor Brian Cox, how much intelligent life is behind his front door? That's what I wonder. Anyway, it's not the first time Cox has been used for propaganda. But like I said, okay, the most important thing is to check the dates. The Cox story came out the day after Bushman's. Now, is that a coincidence? Or was it an attempt to discredit what was going on, Bushman's final testimony? Whoever wanted to keep Bushman's disclosure under wraps, to confuse and discourage curiosity among the readers. That's what I'm saying. So that's the important point to look into, and it doesn't end there. There's more.
That's this here is Boyd Bushman, who is this scientist I was telling you about, and this is Professor Brian Cox, and I won't say any more about him because well, I want this to be a family show.
Oh, yeah, there's much more to this story to come, and incidentally, if you rather than reading 14 Times and read a little article where I'm briefly mentioned called Emlyn Hughes, why not read, there's a much better magazine you can read. It's called UFO Truth Magazine. UFO Truth Magazine. And I write for that magazine. I've got a column in there, and I write an entire article every month, every issue. I write an entire article. So that's a much better magazine to read. And there's another one called Phenomena, which you would like as well, which Brian Allen and Steve Mera write for. That's very good too, all about paranormal stuff, not just UFOs. And of course Nexus magazine I also highly recommend. I've not written for Nexus, but I have written an article for Phenomena, so do check those out. Anyway, like I said, Steve Bassett, Congressional Hearing Initiative, right? Now, as I'll be talking more about the disclosure petition in a little while, but when all this was coming out, okay, and that includes the time when I had Steve Bassett on my radio show. Sorry, just one moment. Just paranoid about the camera. Yes, it's working. That's good. I mentioned this guy Thomas Carey, okay, and I talked about him in the previous program. And Thomas Carey is he's a ufologist. He's an author and researcher. He's written books with Don Schmidt, and he announced in November last year that he had these photographs that were given to him, and he said a series of photographs showing an extraterrestrial life form. And he described them as being sort of smaller than an average human, slightly insect-like, strange-looking beasts, basically. And he was sitting on those photos for the time being. Now, I talked about those at the time. I think I did it in the first film in this series, actually. I think so, anyway. But something amazing has happened, all right? Something really remarkable has happened, and it all came out yesterday. Now, Tom Carey, he made an announcement. He said that he's going to unveil these photos. He's going to reveal them to the world at a specially organised event. Now, as I said in the previous film, he's taken these to a Kodak-trained scientist. He's had them certified. They come from genuine 1947 film stock. And he got them off this mysterious flying lawyer woman, who he didn't say who it was. Well, he's named her now. He's named his source. Her name is Hilda Blair Ray, and she was a respected legal expert and a private pilot, and she had links to the intelligence agencies. And her husband was called Bernard A. Ray, and he was an oil company geologist, and he worked in New Mexico during the 1940s. All right, both of them are now deceased, and they have no children. So I'm not sure exactly how these photos came to light and how they ended up with Tom Carey. It's not all been revealed yet, but it will be, apparently. The story is that these photos were found in a chest in an attic in Midland, Texas, USA, which is where this couple had their home, and they were just shoved there, and probably they'd been there the whole time. We don't know, or if we may know one day, but we don't know yet how the Rays came across these photos, but or how Tom Carey came across them. But there's a clue, and that is the fact that these photos, they're slides. They're now known as the Roswell slides, and there's over 100 of these photos, and most of them are just ordinary photos of people and places. But some of them depict famous people like General Dwight Eisenhower, who went on to become the US president, of course. So clearly the Rays, they're well-connected people. Mrs. Ray especially, because she was involved in the world of espionage. And that could explain how this enigmatic and explosive evidence ended up in their attic. Now, these people don't sound to me like fantasists and hoaxers. They don't fit that profile, and even if they were, how much amusement would they really get from hiding fake photographs in their attic to fool UFO enthusiasts, fooling UFO enthusiasts in 70 years' time? Now, on the 13th of November last year, Thomas Carey announced that he had these photos. He was doing a live show at the American University in Washington, D.C., USA. He's convinced they're genuine. He knows exactly what the implications are if he's wrong, and he will have subjected them to the toughest scrutiny. He would not say something like that lightly. I promise you. He's part of this very hard-headed wing of ufology. People like Leslie Kane and Dr. Richard Haynes also shared the stage at that event. Yeah, he's written these great books. He's not the kind of person who would make stuff up. If he fabricated the story, it would ruin his reputation. He knows that. And if he made a mistake over the authenticity of the photos, he knows the skeptics would have a field day. They would shoot him down in flames and they'd be laughing about it for years. So there's going to be an event. It's going to take place on the 5th of May at the National Auditorium of Mexico in Mexico City. And there's more details are going to follow soon. But these photos are going to be officially unveiled in front of a huge audience. It's a 10,000 seat indoor arena. And there's going to be a live stream online for people to watch all over the world. Well, these photos are going to be seen for the first time. Dr. Edgar Mitchell, the Apollo astronaut, he's going to host it, and he's a native of Roswell. He's involved with exopolitics. And then the full story will be explained. The backstory and the history will also be explained. And the scientific tests done on the slides to authenticate them. Now, I said at the time, and I'll say it again, there's hazards associated with this strategy. And are they doing the right thing? Because there are forces of opposition, and the keepers of the secret are going to want to stop him, and they're going to use any method they can to do so. Now, these slides have never been published. All these eggs are still in the one basket. It's a bit of an unsteady basket because we're dealing with the intelligence agencies here. I hope Carey's got them in a place where they can't be found and stolen. I assume he hasn't just dumped them into his desk, in a drawer in his desk, or he's got them in the bottom of a filing cabinet at home. I hope they're not in his home. I hope he hasn't left them at home. I hope even if he puts them in a safe, they're not safe in his own home. He must put them somewhere where no one's going to guess where they are, because, you know, he's going to get burglars, quote unquote, NSA style burglars, that is. And can he trust all the people around him? I mean, like, I'm not the type to cry shill, as you know, I've explained, but Dr. Edgar Mitchell, I don't trust him. Sorry, I don't. Dr. Mitchell, he was involved. He tried to discourage David Serida's NASA analysis, and he was involved with Bruce De Palma, the free energy inventor, and it's all a bit suspicious, I think. Andrew Johnson talks about that. Go to checktheevidence.com. So what I thought that Carey, as soon as he got the all clear from Kodak, he should have just put them straight onto Google Images. These photos would then been, within 5 minutes, they'd have been downloaded to 1 million computers. They'd be indestructible. And now I spoke to Steve Bassett when I did my interview with him, and he disagrees with me. He thinks that what they're doing now is a good idea, a pre-arranged build-up and launch for this publicity. Yeah, he might be right, you see. He might be right and I might be wrong. I hope so, because that's what seems like that's what's going to happen. Anyway, time will tell, but I'm really interested in this. I'm not going to be able to get to Mexico City to watch this thing on the 5th of May. I'd love to be in the audience. If you are going, please let me know, because I'd love you to give me a live report of what's going on. But I will be watching on the live stream. You can depend on it, and I will let you guys know, Panwo TV viewers, as soon as there's more information, more comes to light. So, as the saying goes, watch this space. Right, Disclosure Petition VII. This is the 7th petition to the We the People service at the White House website relating to the disclosure of an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. And as I explained in the first video in this series, the We the People service allows American citizens to set up petitions for a cause of their choosing, with a target number of signatures. If they reach the target, then the President's office has to respond. The first disclosure petition of 2011 reached its target of 5,000 signatures in 30 days. So the administration obeyed its own rules and issued a formal response, which was short, simple and to the point. Thank you for signing the petition asking the Obama administration to acknowledge an extraterrestrial presence here on Earth. The US government has no evidence that any life exists outside our planet, or that an extraterrestrial presence has contacted or engaged any member of the human race.
In addition, there is no credible information to suggest that any evidence is being hidden from the public eye. Now, that was the first public statement on UFOs made by the US government since the closure of Project Blue Book in 1969. And this is an important legal foundation to build on. Now, more disclosure petitions followed which failed to reach their targets. And this is suspicious because the We the People raised their limit bar after the first one. And also, several people, including me, noticed that our signatures were mysteriously vanishing. Now, the objective of Disclosure Petition VII is to promote the Congressional Hearing Initiative. The legal basis is a challenge to the first petition reply from the White House, which we know is a complete lie, and we can prove it in a fair and open formal congressional hearing. As the Paradigm Research Group states, there are scores of government agency political witnesses of rank and station prepared to testify under oath before congressional committees now about the evidence the White House states doesn't exist. So, that's the situation. But there have been some setbacks. Almost immediately, we had a few problems. One of those was that the White House actually they hadn't done this before, but they provided a short link to Disclosure Petition VII, and it became corrupted. And Steve, he submitted this request to the We the People technical support to fix the problem. And he told them that if the link wasn't fixed, there'd be a substantial setback to the petition, and the PRG would request an extension from the White House. The PRG does not have the luxury of waiting to see if and when this widely promoted link is fixed. So Steve provided his own short link. But I mean, that's a bit suspicious, I thought. A bit suspicious that timing, again, it's this timing business. Okay. Well, the situation we're in now is it's now the 4th of February, which means there are just 2 more days. Okay, there's 100,000 signatures needed, and unfortunately, so far, at the time of recording this, there are only 13,807, which means we need to get 86,193 within 48 hours, which of course, that's not going to happen. And that's a great pity, and I'm sorry, but it's not the end of the world. Alright? Nevertheless, let's get as many as we can. I urge all Hapanro TV viewers to please sign this petition if you haven't already. And when you've signed it, find your signature and make a note of the number. That's very, very important, alright? We need to know how many were there originally and how many still are there. I made a note of mine. As you can see, it's number 70. Keep checking back to make sure, especially now as we're approaching the deadline. So please do that for us. And also, I do urge you to go to the prg.org, Paradigm Research Group, and subscribe to their email updates, because you always get the latest stuff on here, which I'm going to go through. Okay, there's stuff about the We the People petition, which I've talked about, and it says here that it will not. He says here it will not achieve 100,000 signatures and receive a formal response from the White House, but it's done its job to help notify the White House and the media of the Congressional Hearing Initiative underway. Then the Disclosure Petition Initiative will have run its course, and PRG hopes that the next petition it sends to the White House will call for an amnesty program for government employees coming forward to speak in the post-disclosure world. In other words, the beginning of the Post-Disclosure Petition Initiative. Right, well, that's interesting we got to get into. Right, that's another petition I'll be talking about coming up. Alright, so stay tuned for that. Now, he gives a list of these various things here. Alright, over the 21 days the petition, that's when this was sent to me. This was sent to me on the 28th of January. The short promotion link to the White House website broke down for 2 days. Alright. There was also a campaign by someone generating 1,000 fraudulent signatures, and I know that because they have the initials ET. I was scrolling through it. And that locked the petition for 3 days. So there has been some, as I was saying, Tom Carey is going to get this. You're going to get sabotage, and that's what he has to be aware of. But there is something here that looks very interesting, and that is a new site created by John Greenwald Jr., the Black Vault, that is, and it's going to house 129,491 pages comprising of more than 10,000 cases from the Project Blue Book, Project Sign and Project Grudge. These were recently declassified. Now, this is an interesting archive because it's a private archive of a government-sponsored investigations into UFOs. In fact, it's the last one they did, and it ended in 1969, as I said before. So this is the Project Blue. This is the Black Vault. It's a good website. I often go there myself, and they've got a good YouTube channel too. And there's going to be a proper archive of these results. So that'll be really, really interesting to know. And Steve also talks about various other things in the update, like there's the Doomsday Clock. Now, the Doomsday Clock is interesting. Alright, and I wrote about this myself recently. And the Doomsday Clock is something invented during the Cold War. And it was because it was never known when a nuclear war would break out, so you couldn't have a countdown. But someone had the idea of producing a clock-like graphic to indicate how close we are to nuclear exchange in political terms. And then someone had the bright idea of doing the same for disclosure. And I think that was an excellent idea, actually. Now, as you can see, the disclosure clock is currently at 11:59 PM and 45 seconds, which is almost the highest setting possible, apart from 12 o'clock midnight, which means actual disclosure itself. So, that's amazing. Can it go those extra 15 seconds and go to disclosure? We can have actual full disclosure? I'm not sure, but can't wait to find out. Oh. Well, that, as they say, ladies and gentlemen, is that. So is this the year of disclosure? Is this the month of disclosure? Again, I end every single one of these videos like this, and I have no idea. But there's an atmosphere in the community, and there's an atmosphere in the world. There's a sense that we are moving in a certain direction, and the forces of reaction are working very hard to stop us. And they're taking risks that they wouldn't normally take. You know, it's been very brazen, the things they've come out with. The Brian Cox article, things like that. Also, the Daily Mail also released an article where the CIA claimed that half of all UFOs were spy planes and things like this, which is nonsense. The thing is, though, they wouldn't normally take these kind of gambits where they're drawing some people's attention towards something, with the ultimate purpose, with the ultimate objective of deflecting it away. As I've said before, that's not something they do routinely. I know many ufologists who disagree with me. It's not a deliberate strategy they do unless it's a last resort. As I said, Steve Bassett, he's never guaranteed anything. Okay, he's always been reasonably level-headed, but there's times when he's hinted. He's made sort of half promises he's not kept. He has suffered from hubris in the past. This time it's different. This time I think he can feel it too, and even though he has the same kind of very persuasive style, there's a depth to his persuasion this time that I've not seen before. I mean, as you see, the disclosure clock is set very high at the moment, almost as high as it can go without full disclosure. We have the Congressional Hearing Initiative going ahead, and we have, at the same time, we have Tom Carey and his photos. They're not coming out till May the 5th. All right, so it could be that there could be some kind of the actual disclosure, Congressional Hearing, the initiative, the Congressional hearings that Steve is aiming for, and the disclosure of these photos, the Roswell slides, could be kind of timed to come out together. In the meantime, I do urge everyone close to Tom Carey keeps an eye on him. Everyone who knows where those photos are, please keep it to yourself. Watch your backs. Check to see if anyone's following you when you're driving home from work. And of course, as I said before, if you have skeptic friends, keep an eye on them, make sure they're not suicidal. Because, seriously, I mean, that could happen. We could need a mass suicide watch operation to prevent, you know, millions of them just topping themselves. And
There are lots of UFO themed events coming up this year. Some of them might be after Disclosure, you never know. There's the UFO Truth Magazine conference in September. You find out more about that at ufotruthmagazine.co.uk. I'm going to that one. I'm also going to Probe, hopefully. Not in March, but maybe in October. And I'm also going to Richard D. Hall's live tour. I'm going to the one in Nottingham. Richard D. Hall is doing a tour in the early part in the early part of the year, in the spring through to summer. He's travelling all over the country, somewhere at a place near you. Go to richplanet.net for more details. These are the locations where you need to be involved in this yourself on a feet on the ground level. And you get to meet people who are like-minded and who will give you succour and support and advice. And there's I've got a big long video coming out in a couple of days, all about this subject on a deeper level. Please stay tuned for that. This is a big feature-length video. And so, until the next update, which will be when I'm announcing Disclosure myself. Who knows? Thanks for watching. See you again soon. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order.